All right, it's that time on the hump of the week, Wednesday morning on the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. You love music and you know we love life as well. Fourth day in the month of December 2024. Ayokunmi right here, taking you into your Wednesday morning. It is that time where we get to take a pause and take a look at the papers, the headlines, the stories that are making the rounds, and of course, getting us talking, getting us in a frenzy, as it were. This is Freshly Pressed. Welcome along to another great morning, and of course, an interactive session, as it always is. So, we'll be taking the stories. Analysis will definitely follow different perspective. And of course, we get to hear your perspective, your opinion as well. We welcome your views because we love to hear from you every day. So it is all about you sending those thoughts into us on WhatsApp on 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 0981. That is the WhatsApp number. We're also streaming on YouTube. You can find us at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All right, my analysts in this morning to take a look at the stories right here with me in studio, Lakunle, and of course, Devoe joining us as well. Good morning, Lakunle.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, everywhere where you're listening today. And okay, so we're planning for 2025 to 2027.
Indeed, we are alluding to a particular story we'll be taking. But before then, Devoe, good morning to you. Great to have you in on the show.
Yeah, morning world, morning Lagos. Anyway, Lakunle, cool. 753 homes.
Oh my goodness, 753 homes. Now that is where we're going to begin our journey. And we took this particular story yesterday, but there is an update of sorts concerning it. And we'll be taking a look at that coming out of the Punch this morning. Now, court papers filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission have linked the immediate past governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, to the massive Abuja property with 753 duplexes and other apartments located in the cadastral zone area of the capital city. Now, the anti-graft agency had on Monday announced the recovery of the property from an unnamed ex-government top brass, describing the property as the biggest single recovery it had made in the course of fighting corruption since its establishment in 2003. Now, in the court documents obtained by Punch correspondents, it showed a narration linking Emefiele to the massive uh, property. Now, if it is currently being prosecuted by the FCC in three separate cases before different judges. Now, that is minus where we are on this one right now. And Devoe, I mean, when the story broke as of yesterday, there was a lot of backlash as to why the quote unquote top government brass wasn't mentioned. But I mean, it seems like according to what the Punch reporters have seen, that Godwin Emefiele's name has been mentioned in linked to this particular incident. Devoe, let's get your thoughts on this.
Yes, I think why this story is making the headlines today, because it came on the pages of most papers yesterday, was due to the fact that the EFCC announced the single largest asset seizure that they had made in their history. However, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, however, they did not disclose the names of either the business or the entity that was involved. And many people were aghast as to why the EFCC would keep the name of such monumental corruption held back. However, I think there was a leak that went yesterday that court papers that were found regarding this case that the EFCC got a forfeiture on were linked to the past CBN governor, Emefiele, and some of his cronies who had acquired not just these 753 homes, but other properties alongside the other three court cases, like you mentioned, like whereby he printed about 700 uh, million worth of notes for about 18 billion naira.
Mm.
And this court case finally had gotten the seizure. So the real issue here is not so much about the case, though EFCC has come out to give a wishy-washy explanation that because it's a civil matter, that it's not the name of the entity is not meant to be disclosed. But it seems as if the EFCC is party to the corruption taking place because Nigerians need to know when their commonwealth is being uh, rubbish or when the Commonwealth is being stolen. And it always seems as if when it comes to small drug or maybe 419 youths, they're quick to publish their names, their pictures in the newspapers, put a plaque against them. But in this case, they made a seizure and they were not willing to disclose the names. It doesn't send the right signal about the fight against corruption in this country. AY, you know we've been talking about crude oil theft for donkey years now.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Okay,
yes.
crude oil theft took our production from 2 million to 1.5 to almost less than a million barrels per day, which is the major reason Nigeria is suffering low exchange rates capacity because we're not earning as much as before because of the theft of our crude that is taking place daily. Till date, no one between the NSA, between the military, between the police, the EFCC, no one has been able to put a face or a name to those who are stealing Nigeria's crude. So you can begin to connect the dots. If the EFCC is willing not to disclose those who were behind the monumental asset seizure in Abuja, then you can begin to see how organized the crime that is at work in this nation works.
Right,
And
right,
this
bro.
that's why they say those who are not afraid have nothing to hide. Why would the EFCC withhold the names? Why would they withhold the names? What are we
That's a
saying
very
about
good
the fight
question.
against corruption in this country? Do you know how much money was involved in acquiring 750 homes, estates in Abuja? Do you understand how much should have gone to the Federation in terms of hospitals, schools, medical facilities, building roads, bridges, helping? I mean, what you know how badly we're suffering in this economy. So to have them play with the identities of those behind the plundering of our Commonwealth should not be taken lightly.
Definitely should not be taken lightly. Luckily, I know you have a thought or two concerning before we move to our next story. Let me get your own perspective on this one. I mean, this is a huge, I mean, we've had huge incidences where it comes to corruption and mismanagement and all that. But this one, I mean, being attributed to one person, well, we've seen one name thus far. I mean, there has to be a bigger quote unquote ring at play here. It seems too ridiculous for one person.
So again, I struggle to even imagine that one person would own that because then it then speaks to the depravity that exists in the mind
I
of
can't hear Lakunle.
it speaks to the depravity that exists in the minds of that individual, if it was one person or a group of people. So, I tried to do some arithmetic about it. So let's assume 753 houses. So if the annual rent is 100,000 naira, that means they will earn about 75 million naira annually, right? So if they earn 1 million, that is 7.5 billion annually, right? Every single year. I hope my arithmetic is correct. And I'm pretty sure that so you're being exactly. So try to imagine, forget the cost that has gone to into sinking it. What do you want to achieve at the end of the day with that kind of ownership? So, and then you struggle to want to put these numbers together. You're afraid to put these numbers together. And then you just walk next door. You see people sleeping under the bridges. You see people can afford to send their children to school. You see people who can eat one meal a day. And then one individual is tied to this kind of thing. I think there's a problem with us and with the way we see numbers. I think we all need some form of evaluation to understand what goes on in our minds when we see money.
Hmm. True story. I mean, a lot of Nigerians, when they see money, common sense and, of course, common decency flies right out of the window. But, anyways, let's keep things moving this morning and head into the Guardian. This story, you can kind of link it to what's going on in the country right now. And, of course, a thought process actually would come into play here. Now, the National Pension Commission, PENCOM, has announced that low income earners can now choose between withdrawing their entire retirement savings or continue to receive their current pension. A memo dated November 27, 2024, and signed by AM Salon, head of the surveillance department at PENCOM, outlined the new regulation. Now, this change, it follows President Bola Tinubu's signing of the National Minimum Wage Law which bill into law, I beg your pardon, in July 2024, which raised the minimum wage from 30,000 to 70,000. I won't go deeper into that, but what I'm curious about is the fact beforehand, pensioners couldn't take out their monies in a lump sum, at once. Now, looking at this change right now, could this push some pensioners into a desperate corner because we know how expensive things are, we know how the economy is right now. People need money one way or another. Could this be or push the pensioners to make desperate moves to say, I'm in a bad place right now. Let me just take all this money out at once. I mean, better to live and survive now. Worry about tomorrow.
Well, so let me start by first saying that since this um, regime of pension scheme started in 2005, August 2005, I think, it's been one of the most successful policies of government in Nigeria in my adult life, right? Okay. And I like, particularly, I like the way that the commission is exercises independence in making policy changes, updating its thinking, and bringing new ideas into how the pension is administered. The only dark spot so far for me was a sudden interest that was led, funny enough, by a former governor of Lagos, that the government wanted to borrow from the pension deposits, which I think by and large had not been successful, right? But if having said all of that, I think that it's a good move that I am the owner of the money. I should have a say in how I want to take my money because I've worked for it. It's my money. The idea before that government, the pension administrator was supposed to manage the money on my behalf while I work. Fine. Now I'm no longer working. What do I want to do with the money? I want to take it once. I want to take it. There was a time they said that until you retirement, you can't touch it. They said if you retire age 45 or below, after 6 months, if you resign and you are not up to 50, all those things that they were putting they've helped us to readjust according to realities of where we are. Remember when there was that massive job losses, people who have money in there. That was when they made that change that you could apply for a part of it. When we were talking about pension or a couple of years ago, they came and said, okay, you know what? You can take up to 25% of your contribution to as a down payment for your mortgage. Now it has come to this standard. So if where we are today, your pension that you receive as a retiree from this is less than one third of the current minimum wage, you are at liberty to say that I want to take the whole money. Now that comes to where financial advice is now necessary for that pensioner. What do you want to do with the money if you take it in full now? Is it best for you to see that, take it in bits and pieces, or take it on a quarterly basis, take it on an annual basis, as you go along or something? That's when that person, my advice would be that while you exercise that right to take the whole thing, as this policy has now been updated to, my advice would be that talk to your financial advisor to advise you on what to do, because there are no guarantees anywhere. Yeah, it's your money. You can do what you like with it. And I like the idea that PENCOM has always reason to education to manipulate and make the policy favorable to those who have monies in it.
Right. Thank you for this. And of course, giving the free advice, as it were. Consult financial advisors. Very, very important to make the right choice because, once you take the money once, that's it. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about MTEF and everything surrounding that. The Senate has approved the projections. I'll be bringing Devoe and Lakunle in on that particular one. Keep it tuned to Freshly First on Smooth 98.1.
Hey, what? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, we'll quickly take the electricity bill story because I'm not sure of network after now.
Be like saying that. Be like saying that. Deep jungle, na day.
Let me see.
Okay.
Can you see?
You're just joining us. Welcome into Freshly Pressed on the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. Your love music, love live station, 46 minutes past 7 a.m. on a hump of the week, Wednesday morning. My name is Ayokunmi, Lakunle, and Devoe are at my analyst this morning, taking a look at the stories, giving their perspective, and of course, breaking it all down for us. You can also have your say. Yes, you are also involved in this journey with us, so you're welcome. And you can send your messages into us on WhatsApp on 0809 444 0981 0809 444 0981. That is the WhatsApp number. We're streaming on YouTube as well at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. So you can drop a comment there. Take it as we get along. All right, let's head into the Guardian. Devoe, I'm going to make a quick detour here and talk about electricity instead. This is the reason for that. Now, Lagos State Governor Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu on Tuesday signed the Lagos Electricity Bill 2024 into law. Now, the Lagos State Electricity Law 2024 is a comprehensive plan by the state government to address long-standing challenges in the energy sector. All right, welcome development here. I mean, this is something we've talked about at different points, talking about states doing more to, should I say, own their electricity production, transmission, and all that. And this is Lagos State government doing its own bit. But Devoe, can you make some sense of it for us?
Well, okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, Lagos State leading the pack with
Oh,
the last reform, which was one of the good points of the Buhari administration, whereby they passed the electricity generation capacity from the concurrent, so from the exclusive to the concurrent. What that meant was that states could generate electricity for themselves. So to ensure that this happens, each state is meant to actually pass into law an electricity bill that would enable one, a state regulatory commission, as well as the bylaws to enable the private sector to play in that market. Not too many states have taken advantage of that. Lagos is just doing this. Abia State was already working in with one of the old power ministers to be able to deliver that. But what is important here is that Lagos has 60% of the commercial activity in Nigeria, which
hmm.
means Lagos State will be looking at raising $5 to $10 billion to address the electricity problems within the state. It's a tall order for Lagos State, but I think Lagos has what it takes if they get their act together. Um, if Lagos is able to do a deal with Chinese and bring in, or let's say ramp up the power generation in Lagos State to about maybe 10,000 megawatts, which is double of where the country is at the moment. It will actually deliver Lagos into becoming a world-class city in terms of productive capacity. Now, the
Right.
question is, what are other states going to be doing while Lagos State is making this uh, difference work? Because Lagos is like 1/20th of the landmass of Nigeria. So why is Lagos ahead of the rest? But I hope that the state government actually does the needful, because if it can resolve this power problem in Lagos State will become the small Dubai or small productive capacity of this country. Because at this range, I'm hoping the federal government will support them to give them what you call bilateral guarantees to be able to raise that money. But until they make those moves, um, the electricity bill will give way to all the actions that the state governments will take to address the power and energy problems in Lagos.
All right, good stuff. Let's hope that it actually transpires or transcends into something really major, one step at a time, as they say. Kunle from Ikeja on WhatsApp says, after the seizure, what next? How does this flow back into the treasury? Good question. Emeka says it's common for law enforcement agents to withhold names of high and mighty suspects. Till this day, we haven't known who owns the over $40 million cash seen in an apartment in Lagos Island.
I
I
can't
think
hear you.
I think the auctioning of this property should be done with the highest transparency, which I also doubt. Well, Michael says, I seriously find it unbelievable that only the former minister is culpable. Minister, no, CBN governor, not minister. Is he being used as a sacrificial scapegoat? He must have named names. Who are they? EFCC seems to be playing both sides of the field. I fear the man will have a light sentence for his cooperation or just go scot-free. This is Yemi from Marina says, please, when they said low-income earners for PENCOM, is this defined? Sounds like I've seen my next stream of income outside
well
30 December. It's well defined, though.
You are not a minimum wage earner.
Oh my goodness. You're usually thinking about that one 30 December. Better clean that December up. Oh. Country is hard right now. All right, let me just get back into this. I'll take more of your messages as we get along. Lakunle, let's jump into the punch. Now, the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation has received the necessary and complete documents required to verify the 2.7 trillion naira fuel subsidy claim by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL) against the government. Now, this is as the procurement department of the Finance Ministry obtained the terms of reference and the scope of work to guide the process of hiring the external firm to support the OAEUGF.
Okay, so this is one of the consequences of the of the subsidy regime, which ended May 29th, 2023.
Did it end fully then?
Well, that was when the pronouncement was made, at least. So,
Okay,
so let's
okay.
assume that that's when it ended.
Okay.
So now, even before then, the immediate past group managing director of NAPC, his name I can't come to my mind immediately now, had always maintained that Nigeria, no, the one before,
okay,
that always maintained that Nigeria owes the NNPC money, that they've been the one paying the costs of the subsidy on behalf of the government. And they've always flown at us kites of various amounts of money, as high as 6 trillion naira at some point. And Mele Kyari came and also inherited that claim. And here we are today. We are hearing that the money and that some form of audit has been done on those claims, and it's been reduced from 6.7 trillion naira to about 2.7 trillion naira. And they had to hire an external audit firm to assist with the audit, and that's where we are today. But even at that, all of us know that accounting in NNPC had not been transparent
at all.
We don't have proof, but we know. We can't go to court and argue it, right? Now, so these claims of subsidy, it's all documentation as described by a former governor of the CBN, um, a former governor of CBN was in a public forum, and he described how these claims, this documentation are made. Nobody goes to inspect the tank where I claim that I have 1 million liters of petrol. Nobody can verify the date the tanker leaves where it was coming from. Nobody verifies the date it arrives there, but you see the claim that gives you dates, time, volume, amount, and all you do is documentation. So there's that element of possibility. Now, I choose my word very carefully, that so much of these numbers may have been doctored. And we can see it also here that an audit firm has reduced this claim from 6 trillion to 2.7 trillion. Even this 2.7 trillion itself, if we dig further, we will see that we can almost reduce this by another half, right? But so this goes back to the same thing that we all think that we know, but we don't have proof. That accounting in that place had not been transparent. And if this is true, that this is going to happen, at least if we can catch all of the money, we have saved about 4 trillion being paid to these people.
It's going to be interesting to see the results or the full results of this audit, because as you mentioned, when it comes to the NNPCL, it is as sketchy actually comes. Okay, let me take a couple of more messages lined up right here. Abimbola Abimbola from Anthony says, or Abimbola Anthony, I'm not sure which of the two, says, if the EFCC is not naming the owner of those houses, is it too difficult for our journalists to dig out the name? What happened to investigative journalism that we used to see in Nigeria? Some of you journalists are also corrupt and too lazy.
That's why it's in the Punch today that a name has been flown by the newspaper that may be the person, but they cannot claim it authoritatively until it gets to court.
Thank you for that, Lakunle. You actually beat me to that rebuttal. Barrister Dan Okuda says if truly forfeited, if truly forfeited, if it's truly for if truly the forfeited property belongs to one man or few men, then I recommend psychiatric evaluation of their mental health. What does a man need all that much in his ephemeral life? I mean, Lakunle also asked the same question. Gilbert Musa says, on the discovery and seizure of over 700 flats and apartments in Abuja by the EFCC, well, it should not come as a huge surprise. Reason, in 1994, the Okigbo panel revealed $12.2 billion kept in off-budget accounts between 1988 and mid-1994. Till date, we are yet to be briefed about the names of the individuals who were behind such an illegal act. Adediji says, I think the process of addressing the 753 duplexes seized by the EFCC in Abuja, we need to know what has happened to previous seizures in the past. How were they managed and how has it contributed back into the economy? Because that is important. If stolen funds are used to acquire property, how can these properties be exchanged for cash and be returned to the nation's account? That is my concern. Take Lagos State, for example. Most state-owned properties have been taken over by politicians. Which of those properties were?
Adedeji, you don't have proof of
Which
that.
of them? Can you name them?
You don't have proof of that.
Michael says, concerning Pancom, please, what about those of us who are not employed? Can I cash out? It's my financial advisors. Can you reply? Michael, I'm not in the financial advisory space. I cannot help you. Dio says, there's a saying, prior preparation prevents poor performance. Nigerians are the most hardworking people in the world. Other countries can testify to this. What we have is leadership issues. For the president saying, I took this yesterday, Dio. Jesus. Moses says, what happens to pension money with current inflation? No. Pension funds companies determine profitability with funds.
You
That
have
is
to
a
speak
very
to
good
your
question.
pension fund administrator. They will give you, I think that they have open and they're supposed to be transparent enough to give you an idea of where they invest your money, what profits you earn, and you're supposed to be getting your statements on a quarterly basis that you can query these things.
Right. For more information concerning that story, you can check it out in the punch of this morning. That's where the story. So this is the punch of the Guardian. Let me just confirm that.
It's the Guardian.
Quickly.
It's
in
the
the Guardian. The Guardian is when you can check it out. Everything is clearly stated out there. You also talk to your financial advisors. They'll give you more clarity on that. Vivian from Request says the decision of the FCC not to name the persons behind the seized assets is unfortunately not new in the country, where financial backers of terrorists and the names given by the UAE remain undisclosed till today. The level of individual selfishness and wanton corruption has become like a cancer which a patient has refused to treat. Apart from lamenting the obvious, what can the average Nigerian do? These are the questions that we need to ask. And D from Ikeja says, we are truly timid people. The way government officials take us for fools is outrageous. They plunder our commonwealth daily. They subject us to hardship. They bully us, insult us, set the security forces on us when we try to speak up. Political thugs and area boys reign supreme in society, and we all take these like water off a duck's back. Very tragic. Before we round up this morning, Lakunle, any last words concerning everything we've talked about and where we're going to?
So quickly, the story that will probably didn't mention that is the MTF that the Senate approved yesterday for 2025 to 2027. So this is one of the things that we say. So in 2027 or 2026, when the president goes to read the budget, I will start to query it. Some of the things that is written in that budget has already been approved in this MTF, your medium-term expenditure framework, that allows us to plan ahead. So in this MTF, this approved one, the government has pegged exchange rate to 1,400. What is the exchange rate today? It has also pegged the rate of the rate of our crude at $75 for 2025, $76.2 for 2026, and $75.3 per barrel for 2027. What is the price of the crude today? So that before we get to that time when this will take effect, it is now that we need to actually look at the numbers. and scrutinize them and challenge them and ask the questions and talk to our representatives in the National Assembly what we think of these things. They've also said in the report that the total amount to be spent in that period will be about 59 point something trillion, and they have a plan to borrow 24 point something trillion. So the money we are going to borrow in the next 3 years is already been written now. Yes, exactly. So the one we are actually borrowing here was written 4 years ago as well, because every 3 years. So those are the things that all of us need to start getting aware of, that our budget of this year is not a thought of this year. It was a thought of 4 years ago, because we've been doing this since 2007.
Right. All right. Thank you for that, Lakunle. And of course, thank you for joining me this morning. Devoe, I don't know if you can still hear me right part of the show this morning.
Thank you for having me, Ayo, and see you next week.
All right. Thank you for all the messages as well, and keeping it tuned to Smooth 98.1. Don't go anywhere. We're getting to the locker room at 8:15. Tega is going to be in for that. It's going to be sports news and, of course, all the latest developments.